Hi. As a kid, I grew up with a mom who was Minister of Justice, and therefore our little family was early introduced to all things new. Cell phones in cars and briefcases, computers, the internet. Growing up, I became more and more interested in how media, pop culture, and internet affected each other and how these elements intertwined. And among other things, it definitely led to the fact that my generation, and especially kids growing up today, are growing up in what has become an overtly extreme media culture. Norwegian kids and teens are taking in massive amounts of media every day. This is linked to the fact that we are both a very rich and a very liberal country. Kids get smartphones and laptops while they are still in primary school, and they also get a lot of control over these technical devices. And as a result, kids get hooked on media pretty fast. In a large survey, Norwegian teens were asked how much time they spend on the internet every day, and they estimated a bit over 3.5 hours. If you add the time they spend watching TV and movies, reading magazines and newspapers, and listening to music, you get an almost constant stream of media consumption, which I am not the only one believing has a huge and, most importantly, negative effect on the way they see themselves and our perceptions of reality. Reality is a difficult term. What is real and who shapes, forms, and controls it? What is the perfect body? What is an ideal man or woman? What should we do with our life, and what role in society do we have based on our gender? These are ideals that change over time. They are not constant, but the media often portrays them as timeless facts. And when we spend up to 10 hours a day consuming different media, it's obvious that most of us, if not all, are going to be affected by the representation and ideals in the media culture we belong to. So what does that mean for us? Well, Western media is very limiting, especially for girls. Take a look at magazine shelves, commercials, toy stores, different women and men's TV channels, blogs, and so on, and you'll see that kids growing up today are actually growing up in a society that's moving towards more prejudiced gender roles than we have been doing in a long time. We are actually moving the wrong way. If we look at this from a female perspective, the media is, for instance, far away from reflecting reality when it comes to quantity. Women make up 49% of humanity, and only 32% of the main characters in children's TV are female. This is shown in a survey of 24 countries, including Norway, done by the Central Institute of Youth and Educational Television. Children's TV also conform to stereotyped images of women. The same study identified a number of sexual stereotypes found in children's media around the world. And in general, girls and women are motivated by love and romance. They appear less independent than boys, and they are stereotyped according to their hair color. They are nearly always conventionally attractive, thinner than average women in real life, and most importantly, heavily sexualized. This problem continues in media for grown-ups. Women are underrepresented in movies, TVs, and news. Most mainstream press coverage also continue to rely on men as experts in the fields of business, politics, and economics. Magazines are the only medium where women are overrepresented. However, their content is overwhelmingly focused on topics such as dating, appearance, and fashion. Research indicates that these mixed messages from media are making it really difficult for young girls to negotiate the transition to adulthood. Girls' confidence frequently drops in the preteen years, and instead of focusing on the worth of their knowledge, capabilities, and skills, they begin to base their feelings of self-worth more and more on appearance and weight. Partly because of this, there is a huge difference in how Norwegian teens value themselves. From the age of 13, boys' sense of self-worth increase, while girls' decrease. The annual survey Ungdata showed that in 2013, a whopping 25% of girls between the age of 13 and 16 in Norway reported of symptoms of depression, like stress, anxiety, and feelings of emptiness. This is a marked increase, and the levels for boys the same age are both significantly lower and also not on the rise. And while teenage depression historically have been linked to problem behavior, the same generation is one of the most well-adapted teenage generations we've had for a long time. In the same survey, they reported some of the record low levels for underage drinking, drug abuse, skipping schools, and problems at home. What they instead said is their main source of anxiety are the extreme demands of perfection that surrounds them. So this is a new problem and one that we don't really know how to meet yet. Girls feel they have to be perfect in almost all areas of life, whether it's beauty, body, fashion, or the relationship to their friends and family. And why shouldn't they? Girls who consume media are going to be influenced by stereotypical images of uniformly beautiful, obsessively thin objects of male desire. Professional women are far less visible than their male counterparts, and the biggest social media apps in Norway among teenage girls are Instagram, Facebook, and Snapchat. Apps which people mostly use to brag about their looks and their accomplishments. Norwegian teenagers are in the world top when it comes to internet usage, so this means that for multiple hours a day, they are bombarded with other people's external perfection. This is the reality they see. And several international studies now show that girls who are frequent users of media also have the most negative opinion about their gender. This means that Norwegian girls may be far less free than what we might think they are, because they are growing up in a media reality that depresses them, restrains them, and potentially makes them sick. At least me and my friends got to finish junior high before internet became such an integral part of our life as it is for kids growing up today. And you might question if what I'm talking about actually has such a huge impact on teens today, but in my work, I spend a considerable amount traveling around to school talking to youth about these issues. And every single visit, they confirm that the media images, ideals are something that they struggle with, it's overwhelming, and it affects their self-image. A lot of the time, they say they also feel like grown-ups expect them to be media professionals, that they somehow instinctively know that photos are being retouched, and that ideals are often constructed to make us feel bad, so we spend money on time on stuff we don't need. And because we have taken this for granted, while at the same time giving kids enormous access to media, we are now seeing the negative effects it's having, especially on young girls. Instead of rioting against authorities, many have now internalized their youth rebellion and are rioting against themselves. We need to establish a stronger focus on this in our society, and most importantly, in the school system. We need to talk to kids from very early on about how media's depictions of reality are not always accurate. We need to teach youth to be critical of what they read and see, especially on the internet. And grown-ups need to talk to each other and acknowledge the fact that this is a partially new problem, and it's also, sadly, a growing one. Because I strongly believe that the reality is that the fight for freedom from self-hate is one of the most important youth issues we are dealing with right now. Thanks.